Hello and welcome to another episode of Redacted. Today is Wednesday, March 30th, 2016. And today I am joined by Brickyard Gaming. Twerk17 had to be at work and Board Gamer is still experiencing some computer issues. So unfortunately, you guys are stuck with me this week. And but luckily we have Brickyard Gaming here today as well. So Brickyard Gaming is a newer addition to the Redacted family. And before I catch everybody up to what I've been doing, why don't you tell a little bit about yourself, what it is that you do, what kind of content you create, and where people can find you. You can type in !Brickyard in chat to get the links for his Twitch and his Twitter. Also, before we jump into that, actually, I'm going to start this freelancer giveaway. We'll end this at the end of the podcast, and yeah. So I'm going to start this now. It's !Freelancer. It was donated by Steve J, 1397. So huge shout out to him. !Freelancer in chat. It is open to everybody. All of the VIP golds for my channel have been entered. Captain Gloom, Ujiru, Alex Vaught, Lyrium, Sheldon, Live Acoustic, Anticrollo, Terrible Username, Frostbite, Jay Crawford, and Tobatage for being awesome patrons. So yeah, why don't you introduce yourself and sort of tell us what you do, and I'll get one of your videos up here.
Yeah, sure. So hi everybody, I am Brickyard. For those of you who don't know me, with Brickyard Gaming, I am currently the newest member of the Redacted content creation team, and I'm really excited to be hooked up with these guys and creating awesome Star Citizen content. So I have been streaming since early December of 2015. Yeah, 2015. And I dedicated myself to Star Citizen in 2016, January 2016, and I have not looked back. So yeah, you can find me here on Twitch at twitch.tv/BrickyardGaming, on Twitter at Brickyard Gaming, and also I've got a small YouTube channel as well, Brickyard Gaming.
Right on. So what would you say is your the main thing that sort of makes your channel stand out amongst all of the other channels out on Twitch?
Well, I try and be pretty laid back on my channel. I mean, I don't you know, I don't yell, I don't scream. I just kind of play the game, you know. And I've been following Star Citizen since 2012. So yeah, I think the very first taste of Star Citizen I had was the Hornet commercial. I think I was looking for, at the time I was playing Eve, a lot of Eve, and I was looking for a better space sim game, and I don't know how I came across Star Citizen, but I found the Hornet commercial on YouTube, and that kind of hooked me. So ever since then I've been following it, so I'm really informed about Star Citizen. I know where it's been. I know roundabout where it's going, as much as we could gather about where it's going. So I just want to be out there and help as many people as possible find the game that you know I'm hoping to be able to play. So anything that I can do to do that, I think that's kind of what makes me a little bit unique from some of the other people. Not to say that, you know, other streamers don't know, you know, much about the game, but I tend to feel I go above and beyond a little bit sometimes.
Right on. And where could people categorize you in terms of your play style, or what you want to be? What you want to be when you grow up in Star Citizen? No, but like sort of what role you want to take on and things like that. So if there's a specific role that you're going to take on, that if people are interested in that, can come check you out.
Yeah, so I'm really interested in the exploration aspect of Star Citizen. Exploration and mining is something that's going to be pretty exciting to me, and I think that you know, I talked a little bit with Twerk about it too, because I know that he's excited about that stuff as well.
I think everybody has, like, even I am really excited for exploration, even though I'm going to be a lot of like the PvP and piracy and stuff. I think there's a lot to be said for discovering new things. I mean, there's only so much exploration we can do in real life right now, and so it's like, you know, the next best thing is to be able to do that in a game where it is truly unknown by the end user.
And I think that's one of the cool things that's going to happen with this game, is we are going to have a lot of those things that We're going to be able to go around. We're going to be able to find and make, not just the Stanton system, what we're in now, but the galaxy as a whole our own. And that's one of the things that I think excites me most about Star Citizen, and I think everybody else is pretty excited about that as well. So I'm planning on doing a lot of exploration, a lot of mining. I'm really interested in like the repair mechanics and kind of all those support type professions.
Right on. Right on. So, and do you have a schedule or anything like that you have sort of set in place at this point in time so people know when they can come check you out?
Yeah, it's been a little crazy as of lately because I've been really busy at work, but generally I stream Sundays through Tuesdays, 7 to 11 Eastern, but I always have streams in between those. It's just they kind of alternate every other week because I'm also a father, so I've got a daughter, and when she's with me, she's with me. So it's hard to stream. It's hard to stream with her. So Sundays through Tuesdays, 7 to 11, and then a lot of stuff in between.
Awesome. So yeah, so let's catch up, I guess, the podcast on what I've been up to. So as a lot of you know, I started the dual stream thing the other day, and that went really well. I'll just pull that up real quick right here. Yeah,
it looked like it was a lot of fun.
That was a ton of fun. Definitely a learning experience. But I mean, it turned out well. For some reason, I'm having an issue with the second gaming computer where in Arena Commander or in the hangar or anywhere else but Olisar, the frame rate is fine. And then as soon as we go into Olisar, it's getting like 2 frames a second. And I don't know why that is. It's yeah, just being a pain in the ass. I got my partner Discord shirt in, which was really cool. But something else that was even cooler was the Noobifier, who's another member of Redacted, owns like a print shop. So he went and made a bunch of vinyl, and I'll show you guys here. It's kind of hard to see on the stream. I guess I'll show the biggest ones and the smallest ones here. So he made these.
I want to see these.
So I have to cut these out, but there's a whole bunch of them here. And then I have a stack of small ones that's like this high of all these guys. I put one on the back. I don't know if you guys can see this. You might not be able to. But let's move this down a little bit. So I put one on the back of one of my chairs, and it turned out pretty good. So yeah, so huge thanks to Noobifier for sending those out. That's pretty cool. Although I am gonna have to get. I thought I had an X-Acto knife, and I didn't. So I cut it out with scissors, but I definitely need an X-Acto knife to deal with that. It's a little. It's a lot of work cutting that thing out. So. So yeah, and then yeah, that's pretty much it for me. Just sort of been prepping up the dual stream stuff. Now I have to start looking at different audio solutions that are going to work better, and it doesn't sound like we're in a concert hall when there's more than one person here on the dual stream. And yeah, so. Yeah, I know.
Want to get out of the dual stream. Like, what are your goals with the dual stream?
So for the dual stream, the whole goal is it's a segue into the streamer house. So it's just sort of, I mean, that's the whole reason I did the 24-hour channel for such a long time. I'm taking a break from that for a little bit just to check some metrics on some things and be able to work on stuff in the background, but. That's the whole reason I do everything on the channel is there's always sort of the next step. So the next step closer to the streamer house I felt was the dual setup so I could start getting people over, because as a streamer house I want to start getting other streamers over and doing guest streams and stuff like that. So that's sort of what that's all about. So I can have people that are, because Vancouver has a pretty large Twitch community, and there's a lot of people who fly through Vancouver, whether they're traveling somewhere else or something like that. So any other streamers that I can pull through and that want to jump on and stop by is cool. And it's a cool opportunity for them. It's a cool opportunity for me. Changes things up a little bit and is a lot of fun. It's definitely a lot more fun. Like not to say streaming isn't fun, it definitely is. But having someone else here and doing it with you, especially somebody who knows what they're doing and whatever,
Right.
is pretty awesome. So.
Definitely.
Yeah, so guys, if you have any questions for myself or Brickyard Gaming, whether it be about Star Citizen, our channels, Twitch, whatever, exclamation point question in chat, and we'll get to those near the end of the podcast. But what we're going to do right now is we can jump in to our news here. So first things first, I want to say congratulations to Ryan Archer and David Ladyman for funding their Kickstarter. So they did do that. So everybody who backed that, thank you for supporting that. And I know that their last stream on Clifford aka Miku's channel went really well. They gave away a whole bunch of ships, which was really, really cool. And I'm really excited to get the game. And I'm going to try and get some people over here once it gets in. And we're going to do a live stream of that, of us sort of playing it. 2.3 has gone from the PTU to live, which is pretty cool. We actually just got a PTU yesterday, PTU 2.3.1, that fixes some NPC stuff and things like that. In the 2.3 live patch, we have Gemini fixed to allow Gemini orders to see a Starfarer in the Revel in York hangars. The Scout is flyable, and new weapons, so the shotgun and the sniper rifle, are in Crusader. And just earlier today, we're going to talk about this a little later, but earlier today, Chris Roberts had mentioned that everybody, for the next little bit, I'm not sure what the time frame is on this, but everybody is going to have access to a Starfarer in the Revel. If you switch your hangar to a Revel in York hangar.
Now, I was kind of going back and forth between work and the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Now, or the live stream, the CIG community one. I know in the PTU when they gave everybody the Starfarer during that, it was only if you had the Revel in York hangar.
Yeah.
Is that still the case?
I would imagine so. Well,
Or
I would
are they
imagine
giving everybody
so.
the Revel in York hangar.
I don't know. I'm going to be completely honest. I would imagine it's only for the people who have a Revel in York hangar.
Right.
But I could be wrong. But that's sort of how it was in the PTU, and I see that's probably how it's going to be going forward. I don't see why they would change that. It seems like it would be difficult to do that. How it worked in the PTU, and I haven't been able to check in 2.3 yet, so I can't confirm if this is 100% how it is. But in the PTU, what would happen is you'd have to clear out all of your ships out of your hangar and switch to the Revel in York and then load it in. And then on the left-hand side, there should be a room over there. For me, it was glitching out, and it was just showing in the main room, and it still fit. So I'm not really sure what was going on with that, but that was definitely a thing. Speaking about the Starfarer is still on sale. It is $300, and it originally sold for $195. And as now, obviously, it got a lot bigger. There's some definite cool factor to this. It's 3 floors high now, and everything else. But it's also been confirmed that once the ship goes flyable, it's probably going to raise another $100. So it's going to go up to $400. I'm just curious to know what your thoughts on that. I know how I feel, and I'll address the podcast in a second. But how do you feel about the price increase? And is it justifiable? Does it make sense? I mean, I hear your thought.
Yeah, I mean, I think it does. I was blown away that it was $195 when it was, So for them to up it, to 300, it kind of makes sense, when it goes hangar ready, and it makes sense again for them to up it when it goes flyable, because the way that they're doing their ship pricing it's on the perceived value of the ship, right? So what are we going to be able to do with it? How much gameplay can we get out of that ship? So if CIG feels that there's going to be $300, $350, $400 worth of gameplay coming out of that ship, then yeah, they can justify the price hike on it. But we just don't know yet. I mean, we know what its designed to do, and we know what they want it to do.
Right.
It's just, is it going to be what justifies that price hike? Kind of like with the alien ships. We don't know what the alien ships are going to be able to do that regular, UEE human ships can't do. So do they give you access to different space? Can they jump differently? What can they do differently that's going to justify that price hike? So, I understand them jumping it up. That's kind of my feelings on it, though.
Yeah, so for me, we kind of know that and they've mentioned this several times. They've said that when a ship goes on concept, it's going to be cheaper than when it comes into the hangar, and things are going to get more expensive as time goes on. When I first heard about the Starfarer at 195, I was like, okay, well, I thought it was maybe a little bit bigger than the Freelancer was going to be, right? And that I didn't think it was going to, like, one of those things, one of the drums was going to be the size of a Freelancer. So, so when obviously there's a lot of ships that are getting scaled up, and I would expect to see this happen for some of the other ships as well. Things like the Caterpillar. Yeah. The prices are going to change on these ships. Now, for the amount of ship that you're getting and everything, I still think that $300 isn't an unreasonable thing. I think it surprised a lot of people just because I think it's been one of the ships that has had the biggest price hike, right? Instead of $20 or $15.
4 floors.
But yeah, it's quite a lot bigger than what a lot of people expected.
You get lost in it.
Yeah, no, it's pretty much like its own FPS level. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool. What are your thoughts on it going up again to $400 when it's flyable?
Well, see, with that, I don't know. I don't think that we've had a ship that's been that expensive yet. And with this being, as of right now, the largest ship in the game, and I'm assuming when it goes flyable, the largest flyable ship in the game, it'll have a price tag to reflect that. As far as $400 goes, I don't know if it really, that's high. That's, $400 is a lot of money. So to see it go up that high, I could maybe see them doing like 350, maybe 375. 400 is just, when you change that 3 to a 4, I think that's when you're going to lose some people as opposed to gain those sales. And that's just from a marketing standpoint.
Something that's interesting to me is this is very much a medium-sized ship, right? It's the largest ship we have now, but in the reality of the ground spectrum of all the ships, it is a medium-sized ship. And when you look at all the big ships, you look at things like the Reclaimer, the Endeavor, etc. Those are ships that are going for $350 at concept. So I'm just trying to put into perspective what we can kind of expect to see those ships when they come in, because they're going to be even bigger, right?
Right. Are we going to see?
Are they going to require more of a premium? That's right. Yeah. So, it'll be interesting to see how that goes. But this isn't anything that's surprising me. Definitely, if you are unsure about something, my suggestion is if you have the extra funds laying around, or even if you can melt some ships or something like that, pick up a ship and then melt it, and you can always, if you decide you want it later on, you can unmelt it for that cheaper price. So that's something that I had some Warlocks with LTI that I just recently gave away, and yeah, I mean, I unmelted them for $85, and I can guarantee you those are going to be more expensive when those come in.
Here's the thing too, like, okay, so are we going to get a price hike to $400, and then something bigger and badder comes out, and then are we going to get a price drop? So is it going to go 400?
I don't think we'll ever get a price drop on anything.
Right.
I don't see it going that way.
I agree. I think the ship pledges will turn off before we get prices dropping.
Yeah, I think that as well. So the next thing is hangar storage is also being worked on. This finishes the circle for shopping and persistence. The designs are finished for buying and selling things and stuff like that. So we're going to need hangar storage to store things like cargo and goods and stuff like that in our hangar. So what do you think we'll be storing in our hangars for the first iteration?
Clothes.
Clothes?
You
think it'll be like Yeah.
I mean, he mentioned, I think we might have like a wardrobe, like an armoire or, something like that to where we can put
Where we can play
our
house.
clothes, things that we buy, things that we buy from ArcCorp or wherever we're going to end up buying them into our hangar. And he had also mentioned something, we might be touching on this later, but he had also mentioned something about, with that's kind of the ground stages for persistence. And, so he had mentioned kind of moving little things around in your hangar too. So I don't know if it's going to be more hangar flare, but I think as far as what are we going to be able to buy and put in our hangars with Alpha UEC, he called it. I'd say clothes is probably going to be the big thing.
Yeah. Now,
yeah.
With that sort of coming in as well, we know that we have hangar customization coming in as well. You're going to be able to move things around with your mobiGlas. I wouldn't be surprised. Now, I don't expect this to be in the very first iteration, but the ability to buy furniture or things like that. Like if you look in the Revel or the VFG Industrial, or even the Revel in York hangar, you have couches and tables and stuff like that already come in the hangar. I wouldn't be surprised if we're going to be able to move those things around either with your mobiGlas or with grabby hands eventually down the road.
Right.
So having a store where you can buy furniture and sort of set up your hangar to make it feel like your very own home, I don't think would be too crazy as well. But yeah, I for the first iteration, it's probably going to be basic materials. So it sounds like mining is pretty close on the horizon as well. So I could see basic materials that you could store in there, and then things like clothing or weapons and armor and stuff like that. Because I
didn't even think about that. But yeah, like anything that you might mine or salvage, I don't know.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if we got a locker or something like that where we could store weapons and armor and things like that as well. I know that we had Matt Sherman, I believe it was Matt, come in to my channel recently in the past week and say, yeah, we're working on clothing, weapons, armor, and the persistence that goes along with those things. And
I want to be able to put 2 tarantulas or 3 or 4. Or I just want a wall of tarantulas in my hangar. I just want to put them all lined up on there.
I want to be able to wear the pirate armor and have a smaller tarantula or mantis. Maybe a smaller mantis, like an underslung chain gun that I can just walk around with the heavy armor.
What about like armor displays? So you have like a case.
Yeah, that would be really
cool. In there.
That would be sort of like how we have the artifacts, right? We have the artifacts in there. We're just going to do this real quick. There we go. Yeah, so it's the artifacts and how it sort of sits there and spins and floats. That'd be cool if we have something like that. Possibly. Okay, so people are saying that my mic is too loud. Oh, I could see why that is. It's way up there. That should be better for you guys. Hopefully that's better for you guys. Yeah, so having some sort of display case like that, or being able to buy display cases or have display cases come with those armor sets would be really cool.
Yeah, I think that'd be really cool.
Moving forward, we had an ATV sneak peek this week. Actually, they changed it from sneak peek to something called ATV fast forward. And let me just pull this up here on the other screen, and we'll just play this real quick. I forget off the top of my head what this was.
It's
the automated Foley system. Yeah.
Yeah, the Foley sounds and stuff.
So all your equipment and gear that you have on you, and I've already noticed it. Most especially with the marine armor. You have that sort of rubber on rubber sort of squeaking a little bit, and everything else as well. You can see them just shaking some bags and stuff. It's like, I guess this is what it sounds like if you're just walking around with loose belts and grenades just hanging off of you and stuff like that. But yeah, very cool. Very cool stuff.
I was playing with Nubifier, I think it was last night, and forget what ship he was getting in and out of, but you can hear when you bend your legs, you can hear the leather on leather of the EVA suit or or maybe it was getting into the actual seat, but you can actually hear that
Yeah.
as you're climbing around. So it's, the fidelity of sound that they're adding is their sound department is incredible.
Yeah, no, it is it's really impressive on how that's coming along, and it's always being iterated, and they're always adding new stuff to it and everything. And as the different armors have different things, we'll start to hear that, and it's cool to know that that sound is like pretty much procedural, right? It's not like it's just one sound for when you crouch. It sort of
Right.
can change on the environment and everything else as well, which is very cool.
Yeah.
2.4 is our next major patch. And these notes that we had here were some of the stuff before the live stream. So this is sort of what do we know? We know there's going to be one new flyable ship. What do you think it is? Obviously we know that the Starfarer, they're flying that now. Chris talked about it, and I've had some CIG members mention that to me in my channel, that they've been flying around. It's been pretty awesome, and they've been checking that out. Even I think Aaron Roberts mentioned something on the last 10 for the developers.
Yeah, I think he did.
So do you think that the next flyable ship is going to be the Starfarer?
I think it's probably going to be no. And I don't think that they have the PU ready for a large ship yet. At least one that large. I think the next flyable ship that we're probably going to get is the Reliant.
So you think it's just going to come in as a hangar ready and flyable ship? Right away?
I think what could happen with it is it comes in as in the PTU as hangar ready. And then maybe through a couple different PTU iterations before it goes live, they give us a little surprise, and that surprise jump from the PTU to live, I think we'll have a flyable Reliant.
Okay.
Just because they've got so much of that MISC pipeline is, they've got it hammered down, they've got it nailed out,
Yeah.
So I just think that the Starfarer, for it to be flyable, I think the Starfarer is probably ready, but I think they've got some house cleaning to do on Olisar before they get that ready for the Starfarer.
I'm gonna say I think it's gonna be the Starfarer. I don't think that.
Really?
Yeah, like if you've heard them talk about their space stations and stuff like that, they're very modular. So it could be something that they could just add another platform or two to Olisar, or expand upon that and just make it larger, or have it so it sort of docks to a side of one of the platforms or something,
right,
where it has lots of room, or they could add something that slings underneath, or who knows. But just with the amount of Starfarer and that they're flying it now, I'm interested to see the damage states and the explosions on it, for sure.
I'd like to see those docking collars on Olisar get some use.
Yeah.
I mean, so I'm not being pessimistic in saying, or I'm not like Starfarer hating on saying I don't think it's going to be ready, because I want it to be ready. I want to see it docked. That's what I want to see. I want to see it docked on those docking collars.
Yeah. For me, I want to take two out to Yela and set up a little FPS battle, or maybe two out to Korea, right? Where you just sort of jump in between Korea or however many of them out there, and you're just running around, and it's just one FPS playground. I'm really enjoying the first person shooter aspect of Star Citizen.
Yeah,
so
that'll be a lot of fun.
Now the thing is we do know there's a flyable ship and there's going to be a hangar ready ship. So that kind of, I really think the hangar ready ship will be one of two things. It could be the Reliant, which we know they've been working on, or I think it could also be the Blade. The Vanguard Blade, which they just put up for concept recently, but we know that they had assets for it a long time ago. So that would just take some cleaning up and whatever, and I'm sure they've been working on it since then, which was about this time last year. Well, actually, it was this time last year that they've
just been teasing at that Reliant for so long, though.
Yeah, that's true. So it would be interesting to see. Possibly, it could be the Reliant coming in, both hangar ready and flyable, and we could see that plus the Blade, or we could see the Starfarer as well. They also said we're going to start to earn weapons in a new way. So One of the things that I think it is it's just going to be we know that there's coming in that alpha currency, right? So I think that's what it's going to be. So we have the alpha currency coming in. We know we have persistence. We know we're going to probably be getting shopping. I think they sort of blew the cover on that. I didn't think they wanted to say that, but they did. So that's pretty awesome. I'm really excited for that. Yeah, so I think that's pretty much in 2.4. I don't know if there's anything else that I'm missing that you can think of that we know of 100%.
Well, I know, like, during the live stream, he said that a lot of 2.4 is a lot of behind the scenes stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
So, performance, I'd imagine that they're going to address AI, just a lot of different things like that. So, I made a lot of notes during his podcast or the live stream as to what I caught, but,
with persistence, right? And we know that shopping is coming in at the same time. Number one, do you think that there's a potential that we are going to see Nix as well? Number two, with shopping, you need NPCs, at least to buy from. Do you think we'll start to see? When do you think we'll start to see NPCs coming in as on-foot FPS entities? And as starting to fill out some of the landing zones like Area 18 or Nix and things like that. Do you think that's something that's possible to come as early as 2.4? Or do you think that's going to be something that's later down the road in 2.5, 2.6, or etc.?
I think that's probably going to be later down the road. I think what we're going to see for our initial implementation of shopping is probably like an interface, like a online type shopping thing, and then it's gonna get magically delivered into some sort of inventory space that we'll then be able to use. I think the NPC stuff, it's something that they've got to do, and it's something that they've got to have ready for Squadron 42. So it's that it's being actively worked on. I just still think that that's probably a little bit down the road.
Yeah.
And it goes again with, they've had their UI team working on the shopping experience and everything like that. So that kind of further supports my theory in that we're going to get I guess the best way to describe it is like an online shopping experience.
Right.
Probably something close to Voyager Direct, probably more polished, but it all being in game.
Right.
Now, here's a question. Do you think that regardless of that, so whether it's an NPC or whether it's a online thing, do you think that in-game will handle any real money transactions?
No, not at all. I don't think there's any reason for them to put that in. They've stated on record that they don't want to have those things, or they want to at least want to try to avoid that if at all possible. So I don't think that they will go out of their way to create those mechanics if they don't think they're going to use them. I think it would be a waste of resources to just use it before that. I don't think we're going to see any sort of real money transactions. I think we know that you can buy UEC after the game is released. We don't know if there's going to be anything else outside of game packages, which have pretty much been said that that's going to be a thing. So I think that even the UEC you won't be buying in game. That's going to be something you'll purchase out of game, and that'll affect your in-game stuff. But I don't think we'll see any sort of real money transactions happening online in the game.
Right.
Yeah, I think it doesn't make sense for what it is that they want to do. They do also have a small mining ship in concept. I know Twerk, just for this topic alone, is sad that he can't be here for this. But we know it's going to be smaller than a Freelancer. It's going to be a fairly small ship. And will likely be the next concept ship. Although there are some other concepts that could be in the pipeline before that. Like the Dragonfly, the Buccaneer, or the Prowler. Which are just some of the ships we know are coming up here shortly. But
have they said for the mining ship who the ship manufacturer is?
We do not know the manufacturer. We do not know the exact size of the ship. We don't know if it's Aurora sized or if it's Cutlass sized or whatever. We just know that it's smaller than a Freelancer. What do you think What makes sense for you that the manufacturer would be?
Um, well, I mean, Misk has been those kind of industrial type ships. I know that
Yeah.
there's the Caterpillar, there's the Hull series, but Misk just as far as what they've put out has been a little more industrial. The Freelancer and the Starfarer, and so far both of those Misk ships, those ones,
Hmm.
notwithstanding the Reliant, have been bigger ships. In retrospect to what we have now, the Freelancer isn't big. I think the
Right.
Freelancer is even still considered a small ship.
Yeah, I would still
Um,
consider it a small ship as well.
yeah, so I think it would make sense that it was Misk. I know a lot of people would like to see a Drake ship come out, but they're working
Well,
on.
we
I
know
think the
there's two
Drake
Drake
team is.
ships already. Plus the
Yeah,
Caterpillar is getting some love and some stuff. I wouldn't be surprised
yeah,
to see it as an RSI ship.
yeah. RSI. Yep, I could see RSI
RSI or
too
Misk,
because
I think, are the two big contenders for me.
yeah, it's just Aegis and Anvil are too combat oriented. I think they're more like military manufacturers or security
To be fair,
manufacturers.
the Reclaimer is made by who? You remember off the top of your head?
The the
The
Reclaimer.
Reclaimer? Yeah. Is an industrial ship. I
Uh,
believe it's made by Aegis. I could be wrong.
yeah, yeah. It is Aegis. I
I'm
think you're
gonna have
right.
to
It
look
is
this up right
Aegis.
now because it's gonna bother me, unless I know
And then
100%.
and then the Crucible is Anvil. But the
Yeah.
Crucible is out. The Crucible is kind of built as a support ship for the Anvil ships that get busted up. So it makes sense that Anvil would make that. Um, but yeah, I think you're right. The Reclaimer is Aegis.
Yes,
And
it
chat
is
saying the
Aegis.
Reclaimer is Aegis.
It is
Yeah. So
Aegis. I was correct. So, but looking at their lineup, it is the only non-combat ship that they have.
right,
They have the Idris, the Vanguard, the Saber, the Retaliator, the Avengers. You have the Javelin, the Redeemer, the Gladius. So all of those are all Aegis ships, and the one that sort of stands out to not be that is the salvage ship from the Reclaimer. So I would, yeah, there are going to be some ships that are going to break the mold like that. If we didn't already
right.
know a lot about the Dragonfly, um, and it may have changed as well, it could be a possibility that the Dragonfly is a small mining ship, right? Because before it was like a little space motorcycle type deal that was
Right.
sort of unknown in what it totally entails. Oh, apparently it is Misk.
Oh, yeah, I see.
I'm getting updated here, so they confirmed it
Yeah,
is going to be
I see the
Misk.
update.
So that whole
Okay.
5 minute conversation is now irrelevant, and the podcast isn't even done.
Well, here's the thing though about like let's talk about the size for a second because okay, a little bit smaller than a freelancer. Do you think it's going to have like how the Aurora is going to have a module like a cargo module that can slide in the back?
An
Do you
external.
think that this will have something similar to that to where it can have um like a module or some sort of extra storage that's going to get bolted onto it so that you don't have to like say you're out mining and you fill up, you don't have to run back right away. You can fill up that secondary hull or whatever it
Mhm.
is.
Um, it may. I have a feeling it's going whatever its storage capacity is, whether it's internal or external. It will be specific, I believe, to mining materials, to raw materials.
Right.
Because if you look at the Reclaimer or you look at the Orion or something like that, those larger ships have dedicated cargo space for those raw materials that are separate from their normal cargo space, which they also have on those larger ships. But I think on a smaller ship, you won't have that dual purpose. I think it'll just be the raw material storage. But I don't know. I don't know
Right.
if it's because that could be a tricky thing, right? That's a way you could make a smaller ship and then have it carry a larger payload. I don't think
Yeah.
that's something they're
Or if
trying
they
to
have
do. I think they're trying
or
to.
yeah, or if they have like a maybe a module that's similar to that, but instead of it bolting onto the ship, it's something that you could tow.
Yeah, so actually that's funny you said that because I was just thinking of something like that. Because if anybody's watched The Expanse, you have these things where they collect ice and they put them in these big nets and they sort of carry them behind them. And I would like to see a towing mechanic in game. I don't know if we're gonna get it. I know we saw.
And then you leave your nephew out in it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
you leave
somebody
your nephew
loses their hand or something. You know, it's like it's just a big mess. But I know we saw some concept art back earlier on with some Vanduul that looked like basically a giant space train. Of all these ships that were sort of connected to each other, and I really, really like that idea. And I really hope that we get something like that. But, yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's going to be some sort of netting. I think it'll be an internal storage system that they're going to go with.
Well, I think,
I
think it will be too for that ship at least. I mean, for the future, they might have something similar to that.
Exactly. I just want to remind everybody we do have a freelancer giveaway. Package giveaway. This is everything you need to get into Star Citizen. This was donated by Steve J, 1397. Exclamation point freelancer in chat. Make sure you're following my channel and Brickyard Gaming's channel. And be here when we draw that. We will be drawing that after the podcast on this channel. I'll probably give it another 15 minutes after I come back on after the podcast. So yeah, get those in there. And if you have any questions for either myself or Brickyard Gaming, exclamation point question in chat. Whether it's about our Twitch channels, Life, Star Citizen, the podcast, whatever, we will do our best to answer. Just remember, we are not CIG employees. Moving forward,
no, you're not.
The Aurora is getting rework. But that rework is happening after Squadron 42 is complete. I think it is important to make people aware of the fact that a lot of the rework for non-Squadron 42 ships are going to take a while. And that makes a lot of sense because right now they're on a pretty strong push to get Squadron 42 out the door. And so I think they're going to be focusing on those Squadron 42 assets. So just a heads up for that. Really quickly here, we're going to go over, well, maybe not so quickly, over some of the live stream notes for Chris Roberts, which happened literally just before the podcast.
Yep, like an hour ago.
Yeah, so still pretty fresh. If you were there, hopefully you enjoyed it. And you heard Chris Roberts' sweet drum solo.
his sweet beats.
The sweet beats. The sweet beats are real.
Drum playing confirmed, guys.
Yeah.
Drum playing confirmed.
So, new mouse pads for subscribers first are this Friday. They sent out an email for that already. Still no HOTAS prototype. Everyone has a Starfarer in the hangar for the next few days. Now, I mentioned this. This is really exciting. I'm excited for other people to check out the Starfarer and give me their feedback on that. I know a lot of people saw me mess around in it in the PTU and whatever. But this is...
I'm excited for it. I actually haven't gotten the opportunity to actually run around in one. I've just seen other people doing it. So
I think this is something they should be doing with things going forward. When they both become hangar ready and hangar flyable, I'd like them to give them to everybody for a week. A week for when it's hangar ready, a week for when it's flyable. I think they'll get a lot more conversions of sales that way as well.
Yeah.
You know, you get people that are like, oh, get to try out the ship and get to whatever. And then it's like, okay, they either are going to have to play a lot more to be able to rent that ship, which is good, or they're going to have to go out there and if they want to help pledge to back the game more, then, you know, they may be pushed to, instead of that $250 Redeemer, maybe they'll go with another ship instead.
Well, just from a sales standpoint, it's much easier to get somebody to buy something once they already have it than it is to get them to buy when they don't have it.
Been able to try it out, and I'm surprised it's taken this long for them to do something like this.
Yeah, well, and I like to. I mean, it gives more people the opportunity to test it. You know, as opposed to just the people who own it. So they get more data from it that way. I like that they've been giving in the PTU for the past two PTU releases. I think ever since the last free fly, they've been giving everybody every flyable ship for the PTU. And like I like that because it gives you as a tester the opportunity to get in it and fly it and see what is broken.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just an opportunity for them to get more data on it. But yeah, I think from a sales standpoint, they'll sell more of them that way too. So I'm glad that they're doing it that way.
They're also working on a new user interface system. It's held up by Persistence, which is in 2.4, which was supposed to be a secret. Ruined. So I'm wondering what that new UI is going to look like and what it is going to affect. Is it the FPS UI? Is it going to be the ship UI? Is it just going to be the overall augmented reality? I'm really excited to see that. Those things have a huge
Table.
effect on the game. Yeah,
Hollow table.
maybe. Yeah, it could be. It could be that hollow table. So
Yeah,
we will
that
see.
hollow table though.
They're also working on back-end systems and how to scale to allow for more players, which is good. I mean, right now we're seeing a lot of latency issues, right? That's the main thing I think that's preventing a lot of people from playing, is you're getting people skipping around or invisible, um, or whatever, and it makes it difficult for people to play for long periods of time. It's easy to jump in and try something and then jump out and that's it, but they want people that are going to, this is like an MMO based game. It's something that they want people to come in and spend a significant amount of time playing, and to do that and to be able to test those longer periods of time, they need to make it so the latency is sort of on point and it's not so bad.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that is something that's deterring people. You know, it's got to be, because it's just frustrating, you know, to get in and have your pips bouncing all over the place, and it's hard to hit somebody. So, you know, us who play it every day, we understand, but for new players, it's something that's frustrating.
Well, I
to them.
mean, I can tell you this right now. If I wasn't streaming this, I wouldn't be playing this every day.
Right.
I wouldn't be playing it nearly as much as I am. I'd be playing it on big patches, and that's probably about it. So if they made it where they sort of can tackle those issues and start to bring on more players and things like that, then that alone would incentivize me to play more.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of more players, how many players do you think that they're going to be able to have in the next couple patches? Like, do you think we're going to be sticking around 24? Do you think we're going to be doubling up, or do you think we're just going to be adding 4 at a time, or what are your thoughts on that?
Okay, so for the next couple patches, I think we're going to probably stay around 24. It might go up maybe like 32,
36.
somewhere around there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that we're going to go much higher than that, though. But one interesting thing to note about what Chris was talking about, he had mentioned that they're working on the back-end server stuff to handle certain types of handoffs. So you travel from Olisar to Korea, there's a server that's dedicated for Olisar and a server dedicated for Korea. Mm-hmm. So and then while you're traveling between the two, you get handed off between those two without really knowing that anything happened, at least on the front end. So that could open up a lot more possibilities because maybe you have one instance with multiple servers within that instance. Now all of a sudden you go from being able to be playing with, you know, in one instance with what we'll say like 60 people to being able to play with 300 people, because not everybody is on the same server.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I don't know I know that they want to fit as many people as possible into an instance. I know that they want to do that. How feasible that's going to be is going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how they're going to deal with the separate shards and separate instances, and how large or small they're going to make those instances. Because in my opinion right now, each location within a system right now could probably be its own instance, right? So what I mean by that is Korea could be its own instance, maybe a million miles out from Korea, or 100,000 or 500,000 kilometers out from Korea, and You could have Kovalex be its own and Comrades be their own and things like that. Because
Right.
in all reality, those things don't affect each other directly. Having people in one Comrade and you being in Korea, you don't need to know the information that's going on there.
Right.
The background overhead server can know all of that stuff, but you don't need to know whether there's 15 pirates in a Comrade on the other side of the map, a billion kilometers away or a million kilometers away, when you're at Korea running around on FPS, and that's sort of what's affecting, I think, a lot of the latency issues and things like that.
Right.
So I'm hoping that they can do something with that and figure that out, and still have it so that you transition from flying from one place to another, you transition seamlessly into those other things, right? Like you could hide a loading screen, quote unquote, in your quantum travels. You could hide those loading screens while you're slowly, if you decide to cruise from one place to another and take 2 days to do it. It would be a lot more simple to do that. So that would be cool, and that would, I think, allow for a lot more players in a single area. But we'll have to see sort of what's going on with that. But the fact that they said that this is not debuted in live yet, and that they are working on these systems and they are going to be scaling to allow more players is very exciting for me.
Yeah, yeah, me too. I mean, and you also have to realize that we only have like this much that we're playing in right now, like a little bit.
We have one planet of one solar system.
So it's going to be spread out.
It's not even close to complete.
100.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, no, it's going to be more than 100, right? So if you think we have an average, let's say an average of 4 planets per star, right? Right now it's 1/400th of what we will have.
So it's going to be, I mean, it's going to be ridiculously bigger than what we're currently playing in. So there's going to be plenty of room for people to where you're probably not going to notice how many people are allowed to be in an instance at a time. I mean, it's just going to be spread out probably.
Yeah. So also moving forward, a new currency is going to be showing and rearing its ugly head. It's going to be a temporary currency, and it's going to be called AUEC, or also known as Alpha, United Earth credits. And the persistent states for ships, items, fuel, ammo, and paying for them will be all in that, and that'll be that persistent stuff, as well as those items I think are going to include things like clothes, armor, FPS weapons, plus we're going to have ships, possibly that instead of going through Voyager Direct, right, or not Voyager Direct, electronic access.
Electronic access, yeah.
Right, we'll be doing that electronic access through the game. And we'll start to, instead of having to go off of the game and into the website, they're gonna start to pull that stuff into the game, and we're gonna start to be able to do that as well.
I just want my Alpha UEC for the number of times I've cleared Darnell's name.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's all. That's what I want. I just want to get paid for Darnell.
Yeah. And something that's cool coming with persistence as well is some of the combat mechanics that we have and we're used to. Right now, right, you have infinite weapon, like, you have your missiles. When you die, you respawn. You just get more missiles, right? That's not how it's going to be. You're going to start with missiles, and if you want more, you'll have to go and purchase more. And you'll have to get those reloaded at a Cryash show or wherever. Your ammunition for the ballistic weapons. I could see ballistic weapons getting a buff with this, because it's going to cost money to use those, and it's going to give more incentive to use those laser weapons.
Right.
And I'm glad I've just been using stock laser weapons this entire time. So, but going on to that, you're going to have to pay for that. You're going to have to pay for your fuel. It's not something you can just go to Cryastro and get this stuff for free, right? You're not just going to be able to respawn and get the ammunition for these kind of things. So I wonder how they're going to do that with FPS. Do you think they're going to do the same sort of thing? That you're not just going to be able to reload at the ammo crates there, or do you think they'll keep that in for the first little bit?
It's hard to say. It's hard to say if they're gonna put like actual ammunition in the game as opposed to just what's in your weapon. I would think that they would, because that's obviously a mechanic that they're going to have into the game. that it's probably something that's going to function very similarly to how the ballistic weapons function with the ships, and how, the missiles are going to function with the ships, as far as from a back end standpoint.
Well, I think they're also going to
So
hit a lot harder, right? We're going to see missiles
yeah,
that are going to do a lot more damage than they do. Like, we
which I
only
can't
get
wait for.
4 of them on some ships. You only get 8 on some of the bigger ships, like the Retaliator, or on the Constellation. You're getting a lot more of them, but
Right.
I think that
Yeah,
those are their main weapons, and I think they're going to be useful. Because in all honesty, right now missiles to me are just a distraction. I use missiles to distract my target, so they run away.
they're
from
an
me.
annoyance.
Yeah, and
they're
at
an
best.
annoyance right now.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then, I also think ballistics are going to get a lot better. I think that they're going to hit a lot harder of a punch, but you're going to have a limited amount of them, and it'll definitely be interesting to see how they're going to balance with the damage output of these things, now knowing that they're finite, and that you're
Right.
going to have to earn money and be successful, or earn some sort of in-game currency and be successful to refuel and refill these things. That also means that you won't be able to just willy-nilly I really like saying that. I don't know why, but be able to jump from station to station and whatever. It's going to be using your quantum fuel, right?
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised to see if we get a nerf on that as well, because right now we don't even run out of it. Like, I've spent hours.
I like
in the
that.
game,
I
and
like
I
that. It's
haven't-
not going to be. You're not going to be able to do things willy nilly anymore. Like you have to actually think about it. Like, okay, so you have 4 missiles on your ship. Can you afford to fire off 3 of them? Can you replace them? Have you done enough to earn that Alpha UEC to buy those back?
Yeah.
So I think there's going to be a lot more of those types of decisions being made, which is going to be cool.
We also know that hangars are going to lose some of their functionality in the short term as they're working towards making them better. And I think this is implementing them in the universe, like Chris was talking about. Having it so there's no load screen in between your hangar and going out to the universe. It would just be your doors open, and this is sort of what they need to do. They need to work on, instead of you loading in to one of the habitats, right, on Olisar, you'll be loading into one of your hangars, either it be planet side, or if it's a VFG industrial hangar in an asteroid somewhere, or maybe they'll all start in asteroids to begin with, and then later on they'll put them in on planet side, if that's the case.
I think we'll probably get one hangar off the bat that's going to be able to support doing that, and then they'll probably work on making the other ones, up to that kind of level, and we'll probably I would think we would start to see the first implementation of that on Nyx.
Yeah, I think that the first implementation of that would just be the asteroid hangar. So those people that have the asteroid, I think it's the easiest one to implement, because it doesn't require the planetary landing or anything like that. You can just put out some asteroids in a large asteroid belt somewhere and just sort of scatter them out, and then just randomly spawn, like have preset, just like how we have with the habitats, right? So have preset hangar locations, and have them when you load in, that's where your hangar is. And,
now, I might be wrong, but isn't it on the Pupil to Planet video? Isn't that the asteroid hangar that they start out in?
No, I don't think so.
Before they fly. That's something custom that they did.
So yeah,
it's been a while since I watched.
I think
that video,
I think the pupil is actually Nyx.
You think that's Nyx?
Yeah, I think that's Nyx. From what? Let me pull it up, and we'll take a real quick look.
Yeah, and they did that little Nyx preview a little while ago too. I don't know if you remember that, where they were flying around it in a Hornet, I think. So there was that kind of showed off.
It's definitely. Oh, you know what?
I mean, it is.
It looks like the asteroid hangar.
Yeah. You see, that's what I thought. Like, looking at it, it looks like the asteroid hangar. And everybody's saying
this could be it. They could just be these large asteroids like this.
Right.
And this could be it.
And everybody's saying
But then,
pupil is Nyx. I know that
you know what?
pupil
No,
is
it is
Nyx.
Nyx. No, it is Nyx.
Yeah.
It is Nyx. The landing zone uses
It,
a lot of the same assets as the asteroid hangar. But looking at it now,
right.
we have it is Nyx. 100% it is
Yeah.
Nyx. So, but I wouldn't be surprised to see smaller planetoids, like they like to call them, like Nyx is on a planetoid, I believe, as well. Smaller
Right.
planetoids that host maybe one or two asteroid hangars or something like that on there.
Yeah, because the pupil of the planet is on Delmar, which is
Yes.
isn't that an asteroid in Nyx?
Yeah, like I said,
Yeah.
it's a planetoid, so it's a
Yeah,
fairly
yeah.
large body. It's still spherical. It uses the man, this is such a cool video.
I know.
It uses the procedural gen tech and everything like that, and the 64-bit positioning, the camera relative rendering, and stuff like that. But I think we'll see where the asteroid hangars are. I think we're going to see them smaller, and I wouldn't even be surprised if we saw them like a lot smaller, like not much
Right.
bigger than what the hangars are going to be. I don't think we're going to see them quite this large. But who knows? We'll just have to sort of wait and find out. But
Right.
yeah, any excuse to watch that video.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's going to be really cool with the hangars and everything. And hopefully we'll start to see more of the hangar room systems coming in and being able to change some things like, moving furniture around or setting up your hangar flare how it is that you'd like.
Yeah.
Procedural, and I just said this, but procedural tech generates planetoids, not just large planets. So anything large enough to start becoming spherical. So this is what the procedural tech that they have now is. It is very specific procedural tech for planets and planetoids, right? I'm sure they are going to make a procedural generator for asteroids. That makes sense because that's something they want to do. And there's going to be a shit ton of asteroids out there, and it's going to be a lot quicker if they can just procedurally generate those, especially for giant asteroid belts, right? Which are bigger than the belt that goes around Yela is nothing. Absolutely nothing compared to, think of an asteroid belt that has the same orbit as Crusader. Right? Let alone that goes around Crusader that has the same orbit or larger or even slightly smaller orbit than Crusader. They're gonna have those kind of things, and there's no way they're gonna be doing that by hand. So
and they're gonna have a different procedural tech for like vegetation and everything as well. So
that's right.
You know what?
And different
what they're
procedural
using
tech
for their planets isn't.
for the mission-based systems and things like that. So I think what's happening is they're developing very specific procedural generation programs or techniques, and then applying those to those specific things. So they have, let's say, right now we're getting the first procedural stuff we're going to get is the planetoids and the planets and things like that. Then maybe the next one would be the asteroids. Then the one after that could maybe be for some of the cities or stuff like that. Then there could be one for generating NPCs, right? Because you're going to have procedural NPCs that all look different and whatever, because you don't want the same copy and paste. So they'll take all of the different clothing options and layer them and things like that, like they've talked about previously. So that's going to be really cool. Landing's also going to come with the procedural technology with mining either at the same time or very shortly after, which makes a lot of sense because the whole point of procedurally generating an entire planetoid or planet is to be able to go down and fly around on it. Otherwise, they would just do what they have now and just skin these large things that you can't land, and you get close and you just die. So with the with this procedural technology, not only is that creating the surface, it's creating the atmosphere, it's creating all of the features on those planets and everything like that as well. And then they'll go in and hand insert the landing zones and hand insert the different cities or points of interest and things like that. So that's going to be really, really cool. Really looking forward to that. Obviously, with the persistence, like we talked about earlier, it's also going to be the beginnings of customization. We know that some facial customization is coming in 2.4, right? They talked about changing possibly your hairstyle, your hair color, your eye color from some archetypes, right? They said they have 8 archetypes for both male and female, Those are basically the different faces, right? That are pre-made. Um, but later on, this is really exciting for a lot of people. It's the first time that they've actually confirmed that you're going to be able to do something like you can in Fallout or any other big MMO that
like
comes
mold
out
your
now,
face.
or like Black Desert or something like that, where you can actually, change the geometry of your face, which is really cool. And I know I'm not huge into role playing by any stretch of the imagination or anything, but I definitely associate myself with my character a lot more if my character looks like me.
Well,
And
what I'm excited about with that whole thing is I mean, they're really confident that the character generation tech that they've got is some of the best that's out there right now. And in my opinion, right now, the best that's out there is the Black Desert stuff.
mhm,
And if it's better than that, that's insane. Like
yeah,
to mold my face and
there's
make
some
it.
pretty cool stuff. Actually, I'll see if I can find something and I can show you guys. People have created. Um, so they've done
I
like
just remember,
celebrity lookalikes.
yeah.
So
I
I'm
just
just
remember when the Eve Online character creator came out, like however long ago it was, which that one's also very good. But yeah, people were doing celebrity lookalikes. There was a Conan one that was
Yeah, let
that
me
was
just
really
make sure
funny.
that I'm not. There's nothing on here that is gonna TOS me here. But okay, so I have some images I've pulled up, like Michael, like as extreme on one end as say Michael Jackson, right? So look at this. Like this is Black Desert, and then this is real life, right? Like that's pretty on point. I mean, you have some of these characters. You have that looks more like Christopher Walken than Arnold Schwarzenegger. Let's see, who else do we have? Um, Here's another one of I think this is, yeah, that one's very good as well. There's a few out here. I know there's like Angelina Jolie and stuff like that. Um,
Yeah,
Let me see if we
it's just
have.
crazy.
Yeah, like top 10 celebrity character customization. So here we go, and I'll just fast forward through some of these. Like Megan Fox, and we have, yeah, all kinds of. It's really good, right? So the ability to go through and do some of this stuff, and be able to create, like this one, I think is really good as well. So being able to create those different things.
Right.
And be able to spend the time in doing that. I think that a lot of people are really looking forward to that and really want to see something like that in game, as it does connect them more in tune with their character. Whether it's something that looks like them or whether it's something that they sort of want to represent themselves as in the game. I think customization is something that gets looked over in most games.
Yeah, or even just
Unfortunately.
hitting the random button and seeing what pops up.
Right, yeah, seeing what kind of freak you can make.
Right.
Also, we know that they said that the spacesuits we have right now are the old models, and there's some new ones coming in. There's a new spacesuit for 2.4 planned, hopefully.
Excited. I'm excited for that.
Yeah, so they said that the fidelity, quote unquote, is not up to par with what they would like it to be. So that's really exciting. And see the new spacesuit. So we know the marine light armor is going to be different.
Do you think that
than what
it
we have
with
now.
the clothing and everything coming in now? This is kind of getting into like how they're going to layer clothing and things like that. Do you think that the space suits should be modular to where you have an arm piece, a chest piece, a helmet, things like that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, that's what they want to plan to do. They said they whether that's, I don't think that's coming in right away, but that's something they want you to do. So they want you to be able to have to do some mix and match and stuff and everything. So not everybody's suits are all the same. Not everybody looks all the same.
Right.
So yeah, I would not surprise me if that comes in sooner rather than later. But we do know that that's something that they want to do with that customization. New character tech, like you said earlier, is beyond anything in the industry at the moment. So Black Desert is like the big thing that everybody's talking about for character customization, just because of some of those videos that I showed. And even though you can't see it, I think that Star Citizen, because of the nature of the game, it's a first person sort of in your face with other people. I think when you get games like Fallout, right? Yeah, you have all this character customization and everything, but number one, it's a single player game, so nobody else sees your face. You don't see your face, right? And then number two, you have games like Black Desert, which are like third person MMOs where it's just too far to see those features in good detail.
Right.
So I think not only does it make sense for Star Citizen to do that heavy customization, but I think that them going above and beyond to do that makes a lot of sense, because you are going to get those experiences with people right up in your face and stuff.
Well,
like
and
that.
they want you to have those experiences too. I mean, in the Death of a Spaceman thing that they put out, however long ago that came out, they want you to notice those little details on people. So, they want you to go into a bar and see that somebody's scarred up. Stuff like that. So of course they're going to put time in to making it, making your character your own.
Right. Now we also know the recovery system is being worked on. So this is going to allow people to broadcast their positions so they can be rescued and or tracked for one reason or another, right? Including payment for services rendered. So you have the people who want to be paramedics and things like that and do that as a job in the game, or be doctors or whatever, are going to be able to start to do that soon. There's going to be able to put out sort of those signals saying, hey, I need help here. But I think also coming with that is, everybody's going to be able to see that, right? You're going to be a fish out of water kind of thing.
We talked about The Expanse earlier, and a situation like that is what kicked off the whole plot line of The Expanse.
Right.
Somebody broadcasting a distress signal that wasn't necessarily in distress. So don't do that all the time.
Yeah. No.
Make it legitimate sometimes.
Well, and I think they'll start to put in those mechanics where you don't want to be dying, right? Obviously, they're taking out the stuff of, okay, you don't just respawn with everything when you die now. You'll have to go and buy it. But, what happens if you lose everything if you die? Or are they going to start to implement the death of the spaceman and stuff like that? So it'll be very, very interesting to see how what direction they're going to take that in those first initial implementations.
Right.
They're working on a better scalable physics system for multi-core support. This isn't going to happen before Squadron 42 because it's not needed for Squadron 42, but this is something that they are looking into now. So that's going to be really cool. The multi-core support is important on both the server side and the client side.
Really important on the client side. That's probably one of the biggest bottlenecks right now for performance is the multi-core support. So it'll be good to see that come in.
They said that's going to come in with sort of DX12 and Vulkan and that kind of stuff, right? Which is where it makes sense that it needs to be working. Now, I don't know if they're doing both or if they've confirmed that they're just doing one or the other. I think they're going to try and do both, but I'm still not 100% sure on that, personally. If somebody in chat knows, sure. definitely let me know so I'm up to date on that. But I'm not sure if they've chosen one or the other, or if they can do both or whatever. Lockable doors are also going to be implemented when the new item system is fully deployed. So that means that you will now, ships come, when they load in, they're all locked. People can't just jump in your ship and fly away. The minute that you've opened a door, then the whole ship becomes unlocked. And there's no way to relock it again. So that's it. You park it somewhere, that's it. It's up for... So, if you're parked over at Kovalex or Korea or something, someone can just jump in and fly away. What do you think that the ramifications of that are going to be? Do you think that people are just going to shoot more parked ships than they already do?
I don't think that it's really going to do much with that. I mean, people might...
like
Yeah,
I know
really
for
don't think that it's gonna do a whole
my
lot.
time in Korea, and I've spent my time. It sounds like I'm coming from the Korean War. My time in Security Post Korea is I've noticed that I'll land a ship, and more often than not, someone will steal my ship before blowing it up.
Right.
So that would prevent that. But then do you think that, hey, I know someone's here, instead of me taking their ship because it's better than mine, I'm just going to blow it up so I don't have to deal with it later or whatever, especially with that caveat of in Korea or somewhere else where there's no monitored area or it's not monitored space and they can get away with it.
Right. Well, with that new item system, though, is there going to be any kind of hacking or lock picking that's involved with it as well? Because if there is, then
Or
somebody
cutting
could possibly
through or whatever. And I mean, I imagine
Yeah.
we'll start to see that stuff when the boarding stuff comes online, right? Where you need to be able to cut through hulls. Luckily, we have those damage states where we will be able to cut through any point on the hull and get
Right.
in. But yeah,
Right,
who
which will
knows?
be-
I don't think
yeah.
I don't think we'll get that on the very first initial, or the very first and initial mean the same
Right.
thing.
Well,
But
and
the
here's the thing-
initial implementation of it, but
And here's the thing with that too, because all right, so people may blow up your ship more often, but they're going to get out of their ship first to see if your ship is locked. I mean, unless there's some sort of HUD queue that will let them know, which I doubt there would be. They're going to try and get out and see if they can take it first.
right. Yeah, oh, definitely. They'll try and especially if it's a desirable ship, right? I don't
Right.
think you're going to see a lot of Auroras getting stolen, but Super Hornets, Sabers, some of the larger ships, Starfarers and stuff like that, which I think they did confirm is flyable in 2.4. So I was right and you were wrong.
Na boo boo.
Na boo boo. Yeah, but I think that's pretty much it for the news for this week. We're all caught up on that, so let's jump into some questions. If you guys have any more questions, exclamation point question in chat, and I will start to put these in here. So just give me one moment. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. There we go. And let's go here. And let's put this in. Dun, 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 dun. Okay. And our first question comes from Zeus Anoxia. And he says, I have an RSI handle, Zeus Anoxia. I have an RSI moniker, Zeus69. I have a call sign, Zeus Anoxia. I have a TeamSpeak Discord name, Zeus Anoxia. Forum name, you're getting the point here. All of a sudden, I can't be Zeus Anoxia anymore. Zeus Anoxia is dead, right? So as somebody dies. So now I become Sunday Killer, Zeus Anoxia's son. Suddenly, no one knows who I am anymore. How will I link up with my friends? This will happen to you too. How will you find me? And how do I have to change my forum name and Discord name to Sunday Killer so people will know who I am in game? I don't know if they've confirmed that you need to absolutely change your name. You could possibly change it to something like Zeus Anoxia the second.
Zeus Anoxia Jr.
Third, right? But
Yeah,
you
that's,
also
that's actually a pretty good question.
we don't know. There are some things that won't change, right?
Right.
Your RSI moniker, I think, is the one that changes. I don't think your I forget what it is. Whatever you sign into your Star Citizen account with is definitely not going to change.
Right.
Unless you use your one free swap or pay the $5 to change that.
Right.
But
And I think that you can use the same name
yeah,
on the character too. So, I mean, you might not have to change your character's name in the event of you dying.
right. Or there may be something that says that still references, your first character or your
Right.
account, right? So it could be, and that might not necessarily say son of whoever, but it may say something like underneath the name, like Zeus Anoxia or whatever. I'm not sure, but I don't think they would make that. It just sounds more complicated than it needs to be. I don't see why they wouldn't just allow you to have the same name.
Right.
personally.
Right. Or even on your contacts, you can add somebody via their account name as opposed to their character name. Kind of how it works in Diablo 3.
Mm-hmm.
I think it works the same way in Diablo 3 where you can have multiple characters, but your friends can add you based on your account name. So you can be playing different characters, but you still show up as the same person.
Right. But yeah, thanks Zeus and Oxia for the question. Very much appreciated. Our next question is coming from Steve J, 1397, the lovely gentleman who has donated the freelancer package. That is up for raffle right now. Make sure to type in !freelancer in chat. Make sure you're following both myself and Brickyard to be entered into that. And he asks, how difficult do you think it should be to permanently kill a player? And should all of that player's reputation die with them? Well, yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. You go first.
Okay, so what we know sort of Death of a Spaceman is it's going to be kind of random. There will be a number of times that someone could die or take damage, and it depends on how severe or non-severe that was, on how much of their total life that takes out, right? So maybe a headshot, if you get headshots on people, maybe that only takes a couple headshots on someone and then they die permanently. Whereas they could lose all of their limbs. You could die after losing a limb or whatever and then come back with that. So I think a lot of that is sort of going to be a little bit more random on that side of things.
Right.
And should all the players' reputation die with them? No. I don't think that's how it works in the real world either. I don't think that if you look at a really good example, okay, would be, let's look at George Bush Sr. and then George Bush Jr., right? A lot of the reputation that happened before him from his father, it happens in real life, right? So that a lot of that reputation does get inherited still. So I think losing a large chunk of it makes sense, but losing all of it doesn't entirely. I mean, they still want to make it fun. They don't want to make it like, oh my god, I died, and I just don't want to play the game anymore. They have to find that balance that it's punishing, but it's not so punishing that you don't want to. You just want to drop it.
Right. Yeah, like maybe you worked for a specific faction, and then all of a sudden you died. Well, you lose a big chunk of that faction. So when you go as your heir to visit them, or to try and do work for them, they know who you are, and they sort of trust you, but not 100%. So you gotta work up, with that second character to rebuild that reputation.
But yeah,
and I do kind of think that permanent deaths and even like spaceship, like losing your ship, I'd like to see that be like a rare occurrence to where your like explosions don't necessarily happen all the time,
Well, I think we're going to see a higher time to kill ratio for a lot of that stuff. That is going to continue to go up, and they're going to balance that out as time goes on. But yeah, well, I mean, we'll have to sort of see how they do that. It's all going to be balancing, and a lot of that stuff is going to come in the alpha and more so in the beta before Star Citizen launches. We're going to see some stuff in obviously Squadron 42 beforehand. Which could give us some insight. Our next question is from Giran, and he asks, now, okay, I'm gonna have to, hang on, I'm gonna have to change this here. Let's go, how is this gonna work? There we go. Okay, and then I'm gonna edit it, and then this way we have it fit. Beautiful.
Yay!
Actually, let's do one more thing. Let's just change this to 1900 instead of 1920. So then it's got a little more space. There we go.
Yay!
Yay! Live editing. Okay.
We're doing it live.
Always. Okay, so now that we have the Starfarer and the fuel, we know the Starfarer and the fuel mechanics are coming. We don't necessarily know the fuel mechanics are coming. We know the Starfarer is going to be flyable. Or at least I haven't heard that the fuel mechanics are coming in. What gameplay shifts would you like to see implemented related to fuel? I would love to see Drake Mosquito, or the Dragonfly ship, be able to turn off other ships using EMP weapons and using a stinger to penetrate the ship's hull. It would suck all the fuel, stealing and transporting to another place. Okay, so you want to see a Mosquito, a different ship than the Dragonfly. Drake Mosquito that steals the fuel and transports it to another place to sell or refuel other ships on your fleet.
So he wants to see like fuel stealing.
Yeah, basically siphoning fuel.
Siphoning.
Yeah, siphoning fuel. I don't know if we will ever get something like that. However, looking at the Starfarer and seeing that it's... Yeah, no, don't worry about it. I did the best I could. Seeing the pods on the back that have those things, I imagine that those things... Now, eventually, I don't think this will come right away, but you will be able to detach those fuel pods and store those somewhere. Or if, say, a pirate in a Gemini that isn't carrying any pods and they're with a crew and they say drop your stuff or get blown up, then you drop those and then that other Starfarer can pick those up. I think that's the closest thing we're going to get to siphoning, or any sort of piracy regarding fuel. And makes the most sense without having to put in this whole other crazy mechanic. I think putting in the siphoning thing and everything else, number one, doesn't really make sense in space, and would be really hard to implement. But number two, would just be another feature that isn't really necessary in the game. When you have other mechanics that would be a lot simpler to implement, i.e. with the component system, right? Just making those pods their own components. And that are detachable and detachable in the game.
Right. Yeah, I mean, with the fuel mechanics, there's only so much that you can really do with that. For me, what I'm excited to see about that is, like, I really am a big fan of like military aircraft, like the F-15, F-18, F-16. Those planes are all awesome, and I really like the midair refueling operation that goes into effect with those planes. So I'm interested in seeing how that stuff is handled. How is a Starfarer going to refuel, you and your Hornet?
Yeah. Garen, thank you for the question. Our next question is from the Noobifier 1337. And let me just get this up here. His question is... You were talking about the price jump for the Starfarer. What do you think the Carrack, the Orion, the Reclaimer, that are actually large ships, are going to cost coming in? Your best guess. Well, obviously, none of this is all speculation and is just guessing, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see price hikes similar, right? 350 to 450 and so on. As they become flyable and as they become more desirable for them to be put in there. I mean, you also have to remember that they're going to have to eventually start to wean people off of buying ships outside of the game and start sort of playing the game to earn them. And I think that it's a good way of doing that, number one. Number two, that if people do want to get those things and they didn't back them earlier on, I mean, it just goes with everything that I said earlier, right? It's just, we know that things are going to get more expensive, including the game itself, as time goes on. So I wouldn't be surprised to see those big ships go up by $100.
Yeah, me personally, I think that by the time those are flyable, may come the point where, like you were saying, they're going to wean people off of buying ships. So those might not even be purchasable with real money. I mean, it's going to take away a money-making stream for them, but at the same time, it will start to wean people away from being used to being able to just bust out their wallet and buy a ship.
And also know that with persistence, we're going to be able to buy ships in game, right? Like soon enough, like we'll be able to buy ships to be using them in game.
Yeah, we're gonna have in-game bank accounts soon, so those are gonna start to pile up, and you're gonna start to be able to save your money in game to actually, use the economy the way it's supposed to be used.
That's right. But yeah, Noobifier, thank you so much for the question. Very much appreciated. Our next question is from Thisdale. And if I select it properly, we can make it pop up on the thing. And he says, regarding the price of the pledge on ships, $300 for the Starfarer, for example, don't you guys think it's a little crazy price considering it's so far rather easy to steal a ship? Understandably, they will lock and such. But I bet early on it'll be quite easy to steal an assault, especially for big orgs. Doesn't that bring down the value of the ships? Remember that you're not... Okay, so you're looking at this in a perspective
You're not stealing
of
it
buying...
right now.
Well, no. Number one, you're not stealing. But when persistence comes in, that could be a very real possibility. But you're also not buying these ships. These ships are rewards for backing the game and putting more money into the game. And they've always said that as these things come out, right? We sort of answered it a little earlier, but as they come out, they're going to get more and more expensive. And it was a reward for people to back a little bit more money earlier on when they really needed it. It's not as necessary right now. But I think that I don't think that it brings down the value of any of the ships. And we will have to see how everything sort of plays out in the end. But we know that the value in money compared to the currency that you can buy right now, right? So it's $1 per 1,000 UEC. Does not translate anywhere close to how much the ships will be selling for. So a $100 ship isn't 100,000 UEC. It would be a lot more like 100 million UEC or something like that. So I mean, we will have to see, and there's going to be a lot of balancing and testing out economy stuff like that. But I don't think so. You have to remember that it is all just a thank you for your pledge, right? It's a thank you that doesn't necessarily cost CIG anything to say thank you for, right? It's not like, you know, with their physical merchandise, they make no money on those things. That's just that sort of marketing material that they can get on people and get out in the wild. But these things are things that they can take all of that money and put it directly back into the game without having to lose anything up front, or without having to manufacture anything or put any, like, nobody's getting anything unique for their pledge, right? Like even the biggest pledge, you get the Million Mile High Club, but that's still something that you're going to be able to earn through other ways.
The way that you need to look at it when pledging to Star Citizen is not kind of take the ship out of it. Like the ship, like Source was saying, the ship is a nice reward that you get for pledging that money. Don't pledge for the ship. Pledge because you want to support the game that much, you know, because that's ultimately what it is. You need to be okay with everybody else being able to earn that ship in game and not have this thing that like, oh, well, I paid this much money for it and now you can just get it in game. No, because that's the way that it's supposed to work. So pledge the money if you're okay with supporting the game that much. If you're not okay with supporting the game that much, don't pledge the money. Don't pledge that much money. Just go get an Aurora and then build up the, you know, alpha UEC or regular UEC to buy the ship with in-game currency.
Right. Our next question comes from New Rocks, and he is talking about hangar storage. Is there space, or will large modules, like all modules for the Retaliator or the Starfarer or whatever, be stored and visible in your hangar? I think that's the plan. I think they want to have like storage rooms and things like that that you can have in your hangar, and you will see those assets in there. I think that's sort of what they're aiming to do overall. Everything that they've sort of talked about is sort of...
Yeah, I think that's long term.
Yeah,
I think that's long term. In the live stream that they just did, I think Chris had mentioned something just about this. Was you'll be able to, you know, pick the hangar that you want to kind of spawn into, kind of how you wake up in Olisar right now, and then you'll be able to pick what ships you want in that hangar. So maybe they'll give you 2 or 3 ships that you can decide to put in the hangar. But that's short term. Long term, like Source said, I think that you're going to be able to see everything.
Darkest Mine asks, now that they've stated that the Dragonfly will have a quantum drive but not be capable of entering atmosphere, Do you envision using the Dragonfly for some pirate chicanery, and if so, in what way? Well, it's really interesting. Now, I didn't know about this until just now, and I assume that this is correct information. But having a quantum drive means that you can go from place to place. Not being able to land on planets isn't necessarily something that is 100% isn't necessary. So, and the reason I say that is there are some locations that are pirate friendly that don't have atmosphere. So Spider, for example, is a bunch of ship hulls. I'm sure there will be interior parts of Spider, but I think the for the majority of it, it's just out in space, and it has gravity generators and stuff on it. But you won't need to necessarily be able to go into atmosphere. The other thing is we don't know everything about the Dragonfly and its relationship with the Caterpillar yet. Or if there is going to be a relationship with that. It could be the same thing with the Merlin, right? Or
Yeah.
those kind of ships where it needs to be docked to its ship and it just can't handle the temperature
The stresses.
or the stress. I don't want to say temperature because temperature varies in space as well, and I don't want to get into a huge argument. But let's just say the perceived stresses of going into a landing zone or going down to planet side location. It's not something they want people to use as a main ship. I think it's something they want people to use. I really think it's going to be like a swarm ship. That is going to be something that's going to be used to swarm and overwhelm larger ships, right? Like, yeah, you can shoot at a swarm of them and blow up a couple of them, but they're like a school of fish, right? There's just so many of them, you just possibly can't take them all unless you send off, like, just fly into the middle of it and just set off an EMP. That'd be hilarious. But
You're right.
yeah, I think that's sort of the route that they're wanting to go with that. They mentioned before that it's something they wanted to do like a space motorcycle type thing, and we know that it's going to be in between the size of a, what did they say? It was going to be in between the size of a Merlin and an Aurora or something.
Yeah, it's going to be somewhere in the middle of those two. So it's entirely possible that it could be a parasite. You know, that it'll hook up with another Drake ship. So
and just because they said it was a space motorcycle, don't expect it to look like a motorcycle. They also said the Reliant was like an egg. So just keep that in mind. Just keep that in mind when you're thinking of how they describe some of their ships. And we've sort of seen some stuff on threads on the CIG forums. I believe there was some sort of directions of what people would like the ship to look like. Matt Sherman linked it to us a couple weeks ago in the channel. Our next question comes from Yinzer. Do you think, and this is about the Dragonfly again, do you think the Drake Dragonfly will be really cheap like the P-52 Merlin, or do you think it'll be more expensive? If so, and why? I think it'll be. I could imagine it being a $40 to $60 ship.
Yeah,
it will be the next quote unquote LTI token. But yeah, I mean, especially knowing now that it's not going to be capable of entering atmosphere, but it can do quantum stuff, and it's probably going to require some sort of mothership for maybe longer journeys. It's obviously not a long distance ship, right? It's a short distance ship, so I don't see it being very expensive.
I could see them charging about anywhere from $40 to $60, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have much more to say than that, but we'll have to see. I know it's something that they are wanting to bring in the near future. So thank you for your question. The next question from Thisdale is, speaking of infiltration, bounty hunting, and other shenanigans, since we'll be able to steal ship components, shields, etc., by removing them physically from their sockets or CPUs or targeting systems or whatever, do you think that we'll be able to steal fuel and or ordnance, torpedoes, missiles, guns, or will they remain with a ship which you can shoot and sell at a port? Well, I have a feeling that with the weapons and missiles and stuff like that, those will be things that you'll be able to quote unquote salvage.
Yeah.
Whether the ship has to be blown up or not for you to do that, I don't know, but that'll definitely be something you can salvage. And I think the fuel, I don't think we're going to see siphoning, like I said earlier. I think we're going to see more of, I don't think you'll be able to steal fuel from most ships, but maybe the Starfarer or any other similar fuel type ships that come down in through Star Citizen later on that have pods like that are detachable and reattachable. Those are things that they'll be able to tell, oh, this is full or it's half full or whatever, and you just steal the whole thing. I don't know how you feel about the different components. I think everything else will be quote unquote salvageable, or you'll be able to pull those off. If you, yeah, I mean, also remember, we don't have these yet, but tractor beams are a thing. We know they're a thing. So being able to tractor beam some of those larger parts off and sort of put them into another ship, cargo bay or something like that.
This is in no way this is in no way something that they've said. This is just kind of me how I could envision something like that working, is that certain things will have a certain state. Like so there will be two different states. Something could be stolen or something could be salvaged. You know, and I think like the torpedoes, missiles, guns, any kind of component to the ship that may be an external thing is going to be salvageable. So you'll actually have to disable the ship before you can get to that stuff.
Right. So you're thinking like the CPU, the targeting systems,
yeah,
any sort of
yeah,
scanning systems, things like that.
Yeah, yeah. I think that you'll be able to. I mean, yeah, you can pull those things out like
When
like now how they have
hangar.
the placeholders.
Yeah.
But you know, I think like the guns, you know, you'll be able to disable somebody's ship, and then with a salvage ship, you can come in and you can strip the gun. So like you can go to the outside of the ship, and you can actually disconnect the gun from the ship and then put that into your cargo hold, and you have now salvaged that gun off of that ship.
Right. Right. And we know they were, well, this isn't 100% sure, but they were talking, Randy was talking about the Caterpillar on the one side opposite of the command module. It's potential for them to have like an arm that goes out and is used for salvaging specifically. So instead of tractor beaming it or whatever, it could grab that part and put it inside the Caterpillar. Now that's still,
Right.
I don't think that's 100% confirmed, but it was something that he brought up in that ship shape on the Caterpillar. And our last question of this evening is from the Astropub, and he asks, do you think that we will actually get all the features promised by Chris Roberts in this last RTV subscriber edition in the next patch? I do. Not in the next patch. No. He for a lot of the comments that he did state, we're going to be after 2.4 or in the future.
Yeah.
In upcoming patches or even after Squadron 42.
Yeah, he did make comments for things that are too, you know, he said, you know, this is 2-3 patches out. And he kept using the term, you know, in the short term. And I think when he's referring to the short term, he's not necessarily talking about 2.4. He's talking about 2.5, 2.6, 2.7.
And,
you know, probably
and even
going into
and even past Squadron 42 and
Yeah.
stuff like that as well.
Yeah, I think maybe when he refers to the short term, he's referring to things maybe this year, you know, if we see Squadron 42 at the end of the year.
That's correct. Now, just a reminder, guys, we do have that freelancer giveaway package giveaway happening. That was donated by Steve J 1397. Exclamation point freelancer in chat. Make sure you're following both myself and Brickyard Gaming. You can find his information under exclamation point Brickyard in chat. I'll throw that up right now for you lovely people right there. But yeah, so let's get rid of that question there. And so I guess what can we expect to see from you in the next little bit? You know, whether it be in the next week, next month, what kind of things do you have coming up on your channel that people should be aware of?
Well, I mean, we're really just getting into Star Citizen. I mean, that's what I've decided to focus the majority of my channel on is Star Citizen. I jump around a little bit every now and then, when we have these little dips in Star Citizen, or if it might be a little too laggy or something. But I'll always come back to Star Citizen.
Mm-hmm.
Every
Yeah,
once in a
there's
while, I've got
definitely some
yeah.
slow times.
I've got one of my mods that loves to fly on DCS. So if you're interested in digital combat simulator, you can watch me fly in F-15 very, very terribly. We usually get drunk and do that, so that's a lot of fun. Next week, I'm actually not going to be around a whole lot next week because I've got an air show that I'm going to be working at. So I've got setup and stuff that I've got to do for that. But yeah, my channel is Star Citizen. Head on over, hang out.
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot of fun.
And like I said, he is one of the newer members of the Redacted team. You can find me, of course, on this channel here, twitch.tv/WTFosaurus, on YouTube, as I think my name is WTFosaurus times 2, like WTFosaurus, because of the way that Google is ridiculous. But more importantly, you can find me on Twitter as well, twitter.com/WTFosaurus or at WTFosaurus. I'm pretty active on the Twitter, so feel free to join me on there and hit me up there. We also have a Redacted Discord, which you can find by !Discord in the channel. And we have a Redacted website, which is coming along quite nicely. We have a lot of articles on there, so if you want to learn more about maybe some of the specific equipment or news or anything like that, definitely feel free to come in and check that out. All kinds of really cool information on there. All of our podcasts and everything go up there as well. You can see our events and things like that. If you would like to support Redacted as a podcast, the website, and the team, we do have our Patreon. And and I want to say a huge thank you to all of our Patreon backers for that, as well as my personal ones. It does mean quite a bit and allows us to do a lot more than we would, as a lot of this stuff not only takes a lot of our time, but it also is quite expensive. So yeah, you can find the Redacted YouTube. It's under Redacted TV, and on Twitter at watch_redacted. I want to say thank you to everybody coming out. I know once again people were looking forward to seeing Twerk and Board Gamer. Unfortunately, they weren't able to make it today. I hope you guys enjoyed the podcast, and they should be back next week. I will be live right after this. And we will be playing some Star Citizen, and we'll put another 15 minutes on the clock for the Freelancer giveaway. So I will see you guys in roughly 3 to 4 minutes here. Thank you so much for coming out again, and we will see you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. All right, guys, take care.
Thanks, guys.